Hello, and welcome to the very first time with Through a Therapist's Eyes, our new show format. We want your feedback. That is a requirement. Seriously and truly, we're doing something new with the show format of 3 days a week. I think that before the mics came on, these guys decided it was going to be Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. That's when we're going to fire the show up. So you get to start the week out with us. We'll call it Mental Health Monday, starts the concept. Same format insofar as the depth conversations that we are going to be having, but it is going to be Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I thought it should be Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but what do I know? These producer people and these marketing people and the coach and everybody thought that that's great. So we really, really, really want your feedback. Thank you. I am Chris Gazdick. He is Craig Graves. I'm a mental health and substance abuse therapist. He has a website we're going to highlight, wininyourmind.com. He can help you coach through the nation and through the world. Contact him there. He's really getting good at it, man. He's got a lot of stuff out on his social media platforms and different videos, and he is offering 2 free coaching sessions, like free, y'all. Check him out. He'll help you out. It'll be cool. ThroughATherapist'sEyes.com is our website. We ask you to check it out, the efforts that Neil, our producer, has been doing. And let's launch into Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast, not to deliver therapy services in any way, but this is the human emotional experience. We are going to figure this thing out together. Craig, we're going to talk about marriage today. What you think about that?
Sounds good to me. Fire it up.
Fire it up. Isn't it scary? Marriage?
Yes.
Are you sure we want to dig into this thing?
No, I'm not sure.
I have a concept called the golden circle in marriage. It's not one, honestly, that I've done a lot with. Honestly, it's a little bit of a new thing. I have quotes and things that I'm thinking about in what is going to be a follow-up to the book, Re-Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self, to re-understanding your marriage and becoming your best selves, maybe. I don't know what the crazy people...
That's pretty catchy. I like that.
Does it?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know,
it's kind of a takeoff on your previous title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, this came up when I was thinking about it. It made it into my little blue book of things that I write down in. And I got a blue book, not a black book, Craig. Let's not get confused. The blue book is mental health concepts. My black book was gotten rid of long ago.
Got it. Good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So this little blue book had this golden circle, and it was actually on the top of my list way early on, but we never really kind of got to it. So we got a lot to share with you in shorter segments, but the long conversation is going to be about, the golden circle of marriage. Listen to this circle and think about it for a second with me. Accepting your spouse, circled with over to expressing things to your spouse, circling down to conveying to your spouse, and then lastly, receiving your spouse, moving it back to the acceptance. Accept, express, convey, and receive. Craig, I want to hit you cold when you think about the dynamic relationship of marriage, the golden circle. These concept of accepting somebody, expressing things to them, conveying something to them, and then receiving them. What do you think about that as a circle in such a dynamic relationship that a marriage is? Just curious what your ramblings of thought would be when you put these concepts together in a circular type pattern of interacting.
Well, I know we'll get into it as we go. I mean, I think accepting is definitely something that I understand without going any further. But expressing, I'm not sure exactly, and conveying, I'm not sure what those two things actually mean. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say there.
Let me not let you off the hook with receive. What's your immediate gut with receiving your spouse?
What are you talking about? Receive? You mean accepting?
Accepting, expressing, and conveying. You commented on. You miss receive.
Oh, that's because it's on the back page. Oh, I got you. All right, I missed that. Yeah. So accepting, I mean, you have to accept the person as they are.
That's a very hard thing to do and a big deal.
It is a hard thing to do, and it is a pretty big deal. But you have to be able to do that. What's the saying that the little things that you love in the beginning are the things that annoy you the most after you get into it? So, I mean, you have to be able to accept the person. and maybe receive them as they are. Maybe if we jump into the receive section.
Kind of an overlap, accept them and receive them.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why I'm curious about going through the show and our conversation, Craig, because the golden circle, like I said, that's not something that I've worked on a lot in my brain. I do think it'll end up being in my book, and this is not something that's really entered into my therapy thing, because concepts that I have in my therapy circles, I really like to be pondering, to be grounded with, and I'm not really grounded with this one. So just on the front end of this week, guys, understand that this is me kind of playing around with these concepts this time, honestly, and what I've seen and how I've experienced them. And it was interesting to do the show prep, Craig, because if you look at the definitions of the different words that we'll go through, it's really kind of cool. When you think about how they really apply. And there's a lot of sort of blending that I even heard you do in sort of your gut feel for such a dynamic and close relationship as a marriage is. These concepts. Because, I would argue that a lot of times we really don't do them when we're in marriage with somebody. We rarely do these things. Because they're hard. We get so irritated and so stressed with time and resources and money, and we fight, But I would argue that a successful relationship has found their way into these concepts. They are elusive. They are challenging. They go against the grain a little bit of the normal ways that we interact, I would submit. And so as we go through this in the next few days together, this little journey of looking at a dynamic way of interacting with people, I want you to kind of imagine how you can really implement these things, because they're almost I don't know, how would I say that? They kind of go against the grain of what we feel we're supposed to be doing after we get married. So as we go along the next couple days, think about that, right? Like, how can I really change the way that I'm operating to incorporate these concepts? I will challenge you with as we think about them today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Okay? So let's start from the beginning, Craig. What do you think? Accept your spouse. I started these off with definitions. They were kind of cool to look at what does the words mean, and you're going to really be struck. What is it? Maybe Tuesday. It might drip into Wednesday because the first two are interesting. Acceptance and express. Okay, we got a lot on all of these, so we probably need to stop rambling, Chris, and get to them. Accepting your spouse. When we get to the convey, you're going to be really interested in a definition. So again, that might be Tuesday or Wednesday, but the definition of convey is interesting when you look at how does that definition go into marriage. So that's a little bit of a teaser. But let's stay with acceptance. Consent to receive, believe, or come to recognize an opinion, explanation, or etc. as valid or correct. Believe or come to recognize that your spouse's opinion, explanation, what have you, is valid or even correct. Oftentimes you're having conversations, think about it, Craig, when you're married, right? And your spouse might say something that's just completely off the wall. What do you do with that? How do you accept that? How do you accept something that you think is completely dude, I don't dig that. I think that's bizarre. How do you accept it? Do you have to agree? Or do you have to validate it? That's a difference. What do you think?
I think that I'm having trouble maybe.
Your spouse says, I think we should spend all of our extra money. Why would we want to save anything? Let's live. We live for now. Saving's stupid. Why would we save money when we have extra money to spend? It's extra spending money, right? Do you agree with that? 'Cause I'm picking that because I know you don't.
Well, hopefully I have come to know this person before I decided to get married to him, and we have similar thoughts about money.
My wife would never say that.
Is what I'm serious. I mean, I tend to agree with that statement to some level. I think you need to save and invest, but also have some fun.
Pause right there. What you just did is validate a statement that fundamentally I know you don't agree with. But that is it's a valid point. That's all.
Well, I like to be challenged on my beliefs. I think
Right.
that we believe things based on our life experiences and what we've learned. And somebody may say something that challenges the way you believe something, and it's good to evaluate beliefs because sometimes our beliefs aren't always truths.
Exactly.
But if I'm married to somebody who makes that statement, hopefully I have gotten to know them and where they stand on money before I decided to marry them.
I knew that would be
before I put a
triggering to
ring
you.
on it, right?
Yeah.
And you know that hopefully the person would kind of be on board where I am with something like that.
I think the main point that I'm really kind of driving home here is that you don't have to agree with your marriage partner's statement to accept the statement. Boy, if we could learn that, that's huge in a lot of the marital fights that I see exploding in my office.
I'm not sure I would accept that statement, though.
What do you mean? What you talking about,
Let's
Willis?
spend all our money.
Well,
I don't think I'm going to accept that one.
can you accept that somebody might think the money that we have left over after our budget needs to be blown for fun money? That's just a valid statement.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with what you just said there. If we have money left over after our budget, then yeah, let's go have some fun.
Yeah, but you might not accept and agree that we're going to take all of our extra money after the electric and the rent is paid. We're going to just not save anything and just spend it as fun money. I think the thing is,
I probably wouldn't agree with that. No,
right? I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't. What I'm saying is, though, you can accept a statement as valid, and people struggle to accept a statement that they don't agree with as a valid position in a discussion. With parenting, with vacation, with money, with extended family, and elderly parents, and all the things that we deal with in today's life with our spouse. It is really, really important to accept your spouse. It's the first part of the golden circle. But think about going back to when you were young, before you were married. What a wonderful thing it feels. I mean, when you feel accepted by your spouse, dude, you remember when you were young and sort of mysterious, this life and finding a partner? You remember the thought, Craig? Dude, I ain't never going to find anybody that I can be together with. Where's the one? I'm going to be alone forever. It seems like all my friends have girlfriends, and I'm never going to find somebody. You ever remember feeling that?
Probably so, way back when.
I know it's old. It's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's a fear that I'm not going to find the one. And then you get accepted. And someone says, yes, you're cool. We can date. And then you do the question. Every dude knows the question. Oh, my God. I wonder if you'd marry me. Right? He's so awkward.
Well, hopefully you ask with more confidence than that.
I know, right? And then they say yes, though. I don't care how confident you are. It's kind of like, holy cow. Until you ask that question and until you get a yes, you cannot know that that's going to be the case. And that's where everybody can be sweating in their boots. All I'm trying to say is to be accepted is absolutely, if you can revisit that. Because we're talking to a lot of people in our audience that are really stressed and struggle and frustrated with their marriage. They may be on the verge of separation. They may be on the verge of divorce. They may have had a major fight over the weekend. And if you can revert back to this concept of actually feeling acceptable to your spouse, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's a gift to your spouse. And on first sight, this is really easy to do. But as with most emotional concepts, this is really hard to do. This is not easy to just accept as even our quick dialogue around the idea of something that you disagree with that your spouse might say, yet validating it and accepting it. You might fight. You might lay it out and lay them out because I disagree fundamentally with what you just said, babe. I think you're full of complete shot. Didn't want to curse. How did I do
Hopefully
there?
you don't tell your spouse that either.
People do, and you know they say worse.
Well, I'm sure they do, but that's not cool, man.
No, it's not. But in lieu of not accepting, when you devalidate, invalidate, you can come off, because you care so much, hateful to your spouse when you're fighting. I mean, people say the hardest things to their closest people.
Yeah. Well, it's, why does that happen?
Because emotions
Why do
run
people-
riot in the
why
moment.
do people hurt the people closest to them the most?
know.
I mean, do you know?
Fear, insecurities, abandonment, terrified, engulfment, terrified. We talk about engulfment and abandonment in emotion-focused therapy, and that is a fundamental truth of things that you'll hear repeated in what we go and talk about. Let's move on real quick. That one of Gottman's, you know who Gottman is, right? John Gottman.
Yeah, the EFT
Remember?
dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
EFT guy.
Yeah.
Remember him, John Gottman? Well, one of his four horsemen is called criticism. Marriages are loaded full, back and forth, of slicing criticism. When you criticize your spouse for the view that we should take all the money that's left over after bills, when you disagree with it, and then just spend it and blow it, and you criticize them, you are destroying the beautiful wonder of feeling accepted. When you criticize your spouse, you're killing acceptance. How's that for a bold statement?
No, I don't think it's bold. I mean, I think it's true.
You are telling that person, I do not accept you. In fact, furthermore, I rebuke you.
Well, again, hopefully you aren't saying it like that.
But that's what you're saying.
I try to be more tactful with my speech, I guess. Hey, what do you think about this? That might not be the best idea, So it's kind of coming in a little more subtly.
When you were fighting early on in life, when you said things were pretty ugly
Well, no,
at
I'm a
home.
lot older and wiser than I used to be. I'd like to
that's
think
a good
I
point.
am. I'd like
Yep.
to think I am,
Right. We lose it. You know why? Because our emotions run riot and we get impulsive and we say shit that we shouldn't.
Yeah. I told you my story about my
Yeah.
first therapy session with my now ex-wife.
Right. Go ahead,
Thought
real
she
quick.
was-
Short.
Well, when we got our first appointment, I was so happy because I thought we were going to go to the therapist and he was going to fix her and we would go home and live happily ever after. And on the way out of there, I realized how much of a part I was playing in the problems and how much how screwed up I really was.
You realize I need fixed.
Dude, that's really been a turning point for me in my life because
Yeah.
it makes me question because we get plugged in as humans and we think we're right and our thinking gets messed up.
Yeah.
And after that experience happened when before I got divorced, if she would say something to me, you're being this or that or whatever, I would ask people around me, hey, am I doing this? Is this me? Because it's hard to see. It's hard to look in the mirror sometimes and actually see what's looking back at you.
Absolutely. It's an ugly picture sometimes.
Right.
You got to accept yourself too, by the way.
Yeah.
Talk about acceptance in marriage. Okay, moving on, because we need to taxi in for a landing with this first part of the golden circle of marriage. What about things change? In a bit of time, they will absolutely change. So you might have thought one way about money, and then later on in life, you thought a whole another way about money. So can you still accept your spouse when they change? Because they will. You think they're going to remain the same? Holy crap. Come on, how do you remain the same for 40 years when you're married for 40 years? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and not only are they changing, but you are too.
Right?
So
One of the
there's
biggest things-
a lot going on there.
And one of the biggest things that changes you is when you become a parent. I think that's one of the biggest life changes you can experience.
That is definitely one. Yeah,
Completely
absolutely.
night and day.
Absolutely.
The day before and the day after you bring that little booger home.
Yeah. Marriage takes a lot of work.
Because things are always changing.
They are. And what I was going to say is it takes a lot of work on yourself. Your spouse has to have a lot of work that they're doing on themselves. And then there has to be a lot of work going on in the relationship itself. So it's not something that just comes naturally or easy.
So think about this. There are different types of love. There are 4 biblical types of love. Philia, which is brotherly love. Eros, which is romantic love. Storge, Storge, family or familiar love, right? In a non-biblical, and then, of course, agape love. Forgot that one on my list. I didn't even write that in. Agape love is selfless love. In a non-biblical way, I saw other types of love. Pragma, which is enduring love. ludus, which is playful love. I thought this was cool. You ever hear of mania love?
Never heard of that.
Mania
No.
love. They listed that as obsessive love. I don't think that we want that.
No,
I'm
no,
not sure.
I think that's probably not healthy.
We could
either.
do something with that. And last one is philusia love, which is self-love. So the reason why I'm hitting these is because ultimately we are striving in the concept of acceptance to go for the agape love, which is selfless love. And I'm telling you what, man, you think you can do that? I would argue and challenge you, if anyone in the world is listening to this thinking that they can fulfill the agape love, a complete form of selfless love, that's the goal in accepting your spouse, you can't do it. I don't think human beings are essentially able to get to that level of loving somebody.
So what level is that in the Greek?
Agape.
But like the love you have for God, or the love that God has for us? What
It's
is
actually
what is it?
the love, arguably, that God has for us.
Okay.
Completely
So it's something that
selfless.
human beings can't attain.
Essentially.
Got it.
Essentially. But when you look at accepting of your spouse, that's kind of what we're after. Okay? That's what we're trying to get to. All right, boy, I tell you what, Craig, this new format is like having us hurry up. We got to taxi in. And here's the way we're going to do it. We're going to taxi in with tomorrow. We're going to talk about the second of the concepts, and that's the defined issue of expressing things to your spouse. So expressing, which is the second part of the circle, the golden circle of marriage. Accept, express, convey, and receive. So expression, defined. The process of making one's thoughts or feelings, making known one's thoughts or feelings, and then a look on someone's face that conveys a particular emotion. So really, when you're expressing things to your spouse, making known your thoughts or feelings, we're going to talk about how that goes in the golden circle of marriage. Think we can do that tomorrow?
Yep.
All right, man. You guys have a great evening, a great day. Happy spring day at work, I guess. We'll see you tomorrow. Tune in to Expressions.